So first off is the deck I know the most. So this is the Meowscarada Decidueye deck. This deck is very strong. The only real losing matchups are obviously the fire decks, as well as Oricorio Magnezone and the new Tapu Lele Magnezone. That can be rough matchups, although I actually had a game the other day where I ended up beating the Tapu Magnezone deck. I actually ended up defeating 2 Magnezones and then Tapu Lele to win the game. So while the deck does have bad matchups, it is not like those matchups are not unwinnable. Obviously you have to get very lucky. But so just as an FYI, I always say this, but in these deck lists, you know, sometimes the support ratio can change. For example, in all these Meowscarada Decidueye decks, the cards you never want to change. So let me just organize it. So obviously the 2-1-2 and then the 1-1-1 line, you never want to change this. And then the 2 Ericas, 2 Professor Research, 2 Pokeballs, the 2 Rare Candies, and the 2 Leaf Capes. Keep those ratios. You don't want to play any less of those cards. So the 2 flex options in your deck are going to be this 1 Lily and the 1 red card, giving you 2 extra spaces. Personally, I've seen some builds running 1 Lily and 1 Mars. I see others running obviously this one with the Lily and the red card. Personally, I have come to the conclusion that red card and Mars literally doesn't do anything for me because I always draw it at the very bottom of my deck. So personally, I've taken out the red card and added a Geo because I think the Geo really helps in that Oricorio matchup. But I've seen other people take out the red card and add something like a Sabrina instead, or even just play a red card and a Sabrina. So that's just some different options for the Decidueye deck. So next up we have the Darkrai Giratina, the king of the game for so long. Obviously don't think it's a top deck right now. Definitely think it is still very strong though. So a lot of people have been dropping the Kamala engine because you don't really need it. It just makes the deck more bricky. And if you're playing Darkrai Giratina, you probably are playing the deck because you want to be the most consistent, and adding that is definitely not helping you. So this is the main, I mean, there's so many support cards, I'm not going to list them all. Basically, this deck got like top 8 at the biggest tournament of all time. So this is one of the strongest decks. Yeah, obviously, just plays 2 Sabrinas if you want to take the Sabrina out for something. Maybe like a potion, go ahead. Or if you want to take the Sabrina and actually add a Kamala, you definitely can if you are running into a lot of Oricorios and still want to play Darkrai Giratina. But yeah, I mean, dude, Darkrai Giratina, same thing it's always been doing, has so much room for support cards. It can basically play whatever it needs to be meta relevant because, you know, you have 16 spots. Obviously not 16 because you have 2 Pokeballs, but you have 14 slots besides the Pokeballs and Professor Research. So a lot of room for customization. Just a very strong deck still. And I just don't want to keep talking about it because we all know what it does. So next up is the deck winner from the Arceus, the biggest tournament of all time, which is going to be Magnezone Oricorio, which I see a lot on ranked now. So basically, this deck is 2 Magnezone lines with the 2 Oricorios. It's pure electric, obviously. And then you just have the 1 Shaman that helps Oricorio stay alive against the Darkrai Giratina matchup specifically. Also, a niche usage can make the Rallet useless. The one that snipes for 10 damage, obviously, because you just heal up 10. So anyways, like, this deck, I've seen a lot of people running the Lily for Magnezone. I have seen some decks play Pokemon Center Lady instead to be able to heal something else like the Oricorio. So that is a flex slot, but like all these other cards like the Mara, Cyrus, Guzma, almost every single time I ran into the deck, I've been hit by these support cards. So I think if you wanted to change the Lily for a Pokemon Center Lady, go ahead. But I think the Lily is a fantastic, and I just think this deck list is very strong. Why is this deck being played? So Decidueye and Meowscarada was very like heavily played, and a lot you're seeing it a lot on ranked. And this is one of the decks that does good against that because if you can actually eliminate both the Meowscaradas, basically Decidueye you can't win in an endgame of an Oricorio. So yeah, and plus obviously Meowscarada does more damage for attacking into EX Pokemon. This deck is a non-EX deck, so the max you can do is 60, which means you have to 3-tap Magnezone at minimum, not even including the Lily that might happen. So it just has a very good Meowscarada matchup, has pretty good matchup into the Darkrai Giratina as you are playing Oricorio. Stuff like Charizard as well because the Oricorio. So overall, it just has a lot of favorable matchups in the top meta. Next up, we have the classic Tapu Lele Greninja, which is definitely the most favorited of the Greninja Giratina packages. People kind of stopped playing Snorlax and people stopped kind of playing Oricorio Greninja in favor for Tapu Lele. So Tapu Lele lets you bench snipe and do more damage depending on how much energy your opponent has. So it can be really good against the Stoke Charizard after they Stoke because you will attack them for up to 80 to 100 damage minimum. And then obviously Greninja and Giratina, we already know what they do. This is the most standard list. This also got top 8 at the biggest tournament of all time. Two Cyruses because you are playing 4 Bent Snipers, being Greninja and the Tapu Leles. Then you have the 2 hand disruptions with the red card and the Mars to prevent your opponent, such as like Meowscarada Decidueye, from ever finding that rare candy, hopefully, or just like other rare candy decks, such as, you know, fellow Greninja users, Garchomp Rampardos, basically every deck in the meta, dude, besides the one, like, besides Darkrai Giratina and like Magnezone. Yeah, but I mean, a very good matchup. I think the one losing matchup it does have, which is why people are starting to switch over to this other Tapu Lele version. This deck can definitely struggle against Meowscarada Decidueye if you are playing pure Psychic. I suggest playing this deck with Psychic and Water. Does let you potentially break with the Tapu Lele and get not getting Psychic, but I don't know, man. Like, I feel like the Decidueye matchup is like so skewed in the favor of Decidueye. Personally, for me playing Decidueye, I feel like every time I see Tapu Lele and they're playing pure Psychic, I think I have like a 99% win rate if I didn't break that game. But yeah, I just think it has like that one bad matchup. Maybe it has a little bit more bad matchups that I'm not aware of. But I think the main one is definitely just Decidueye. But because Decidueye is so popular, people are starting to play Tapu Lele Magnezone, dropping the Greninja to give you a better matchup into Decidueye Meowscarada. And yeah, so essentially Tapu Lele and Giratina still. And then you just have that extra Magnezone as a force. People are still playing pure Psychic with this one because obviously Magneton does charge up itself. And yeah, essentially you just have Tapu Lele, you set up Giratina, you set up the Magnezones. Tapu Lele probably dies, you go in with a Magnezone. And it's also very good against itself, like the Tapu Lele Greninja version, because obviously Magnezone can one-shot that Greninja. Then the most common is like Sabrina, Cyrus, Mars, and then Guzma, because Guzma definitely don't want to be attacking like stuff like Rocky Helmets, because if your Magnezone is at full HP and you get rid of the Rocky Helmet, it's actually very hard for your opponent to have something that one-shots it. Like, very few decks, aside from like stuff like Charizard and Infernape, can't really deal with Magnezone in one hit, especially if you do slap a giant cape on it. I feel like most of the support cards are standard. This list was actually from Judy, who is a very high level Pokemon Pocket player, and they had a Pokemon Center lady in their deck. I maybe I'm misheard this and misremembering. I think they said the Pokemon Center lady is kind of like a flex slot, but they were playing it in their build, so I just included in this. But that is probably like the one card you could change if you wanted to add maybe something like a Pokemon Com or like an Iono for that consistency. Next up, we just have Charizard Incineroar. Still doing the same thing, dude. If you get Charizard out, you probably auto win unless you are playing Oricorio. Oricorio, honestly, if you're into Oricorio, man, GG's. It's probably just a route. Like, you definitely can potentially beat it by attacking with either Charmeleon or like Blitzen or something. But like, dude, most of the time, bro, GG's, wrap it up. This is basically like the standard list that I've basically been seeing like almost every single Charizard Incineroar deck use. And I don't think this is the most popular version of Charizard anymore. I do think there's a more popular version with Turtonator, but we will get into that later. Yeah, but basically the only losing matchup for this deck, bro, is like actually just not drawing Charizard EX in like the first 2 turns and then running into an Oricorio. So apparently a new meta deck that has been picking up, bro, is actually Infernape, and I'm going to shout out Integrity, a good Pokemon Pocket player, who basically who like posted this deck list in my Discord, and I'm kind of stealing this right for the video, bro, so go man. But basically, Turtonator Infernape, rare candy. I mean, going second, 140 damage, very good into the Meowscarada matchup. Yeah, and essentially, bro, Turtonator, Infernape, you know, Turtonator with Kiawe turn 1, or Infernape rare candy turn 2. Fast damage, good against the Decidueye Meowscarada, which is one of the top decks right now in ranked. And there's not a lot of things that will survive an Infernape hit. And yeah, the deck is just very like aggressive and is like cool because you can retreat into the Turtonator once your Infernape attacks and basically just use that as a shield, set the Infernape back up, and then to be honest, there's a lot of times like you could just win off like 2 Infernape attacks. And especially Kiawe turn 1, I mean, it's just one of the most broken cards like combos in the game. So like obviously 2 Pokeballs, 2 rare candies because you do want Infernape right away. Do Professor Research, we have the 2 Kiawes because we want Turtonator, you know, be able to go off turn 1. 1 Cyrus, you know, because, you know, Infernape or Turtonator, sometimes, you know, you don't get that KO, especially if a Giratina is at full HP. They might use it to take a hit, retreat, and try to do some damage while your Infernape has no energy, because obviously you do discard energy. But, you know, you can bring it back in with the Cyrus win the game like that. We have the 1 Guzma, especially very good, especially in the Meowscarada matchup, because honestly, Giant Cape would let a Meowscarada live in an Infernape attack. Obviously, we don't want that. Guzma, get rid of it. Lele for Infernape. And then we have the 1 Iono, just for that little bit of consistency to find the rare candies. And just a one giant cape, you know, it's always nice to cape something up, make her or make like Meowscarada have to 3-tap a Turtonator. So I'm not like super familiar with the matchups, but like Turtonator helps with Oricorio. Infernape's good in the grass decks. I'm not too sure. Like I honestly personally have never played with this deck, but they just climbed 250 points today with this deck, so I wanted to include it because I think it's just a really cool meta call. Plus, I think there was someone top 100 who posted this like a deck list about Infernape on Twitter, but I honestly I can't find the tweet, bro. So I'm pretty sure that happened though. So I think someone in the top 100 is using Infernape. So next up is Solgaleo. This one got top 32 in the biggest tournament, and I think it's just a very solid list, man. A lot of Solgaleo lists don't run Lele anymore, but top level or top player MST who won one of the previous Arceus, like one of the like last 3 to 4. I've been watching their streams. They've been playing Solgaleo a lot, different build than theirs, but I think Solgaleo is all right in the top of the top. I think it has a pretty decent matchup. So if you are like top Master Ball, bro, like I think it can be definitely good because you know it's good in the Oricorios and stuff like that with the Geo. I personally like running a Geo. I've seen MST only play 3 item cards and run a Geo instead. I kind of like that build more because Skarmory can get that 60 HP knockouts on like turn 2. Or like even take out the Cosmoan, because sometimes the Cosmoan, like I don't know, like sometimes you can just like rare candy and you don't need the Cosmoan, it can be a brick. So like you could take out something like this and like add the Geo and like solely rely on the rare candy. Obviously having the stage 1 does make you more consistent to go into Solgaleo. But yeah, it's just very hyper aggressive, bro. You can get fast KOs, and basically if you can just get in the Solgaleo very fast and maybe your opponent bricks, you can kind of just like sweep through the game because you can just like knock out everything before your opponent's like ready. And then obviously you have Skarmory being able to attack for 50 damage, you know, it's just good. Probably like 2 Rocky Helmets over like a giant cape, like something like this is probably better in ranked. But obviously, you know, this list ended up getting top 32 in the biggest tournament, so I think it's doing something right. But you know, there's always a variety of options, like I always say. Next up, Garchomp. Garchomp's still doing the same thing. You know, it's pretty decent. You know, heavily. I mean, dude, you just get a rare candy fast, bro. This deck can pop off because you can bench snipe for 50. Losing matchup is basically Meowscarada, and that's it. And obviously, you know, not drawing the rare candy. Besides this, dude, you know, you have 2 Lilies because you have 2 stage 2s. You have the 2 rare candy. You have the I don't know because you really want to find stuff. Plus the Skull Fossil because it is unsearchable, but you definitely want to play a Dragon Gibble, although Carnivine Arceus has definitely not seen the most representation, especially in Master Ball. I feel like personally, like I kind of like don't see it as much as I used to. You definitely don't want to get one shot in case you do run into it. So always play the Dragon one so you don't have the weakness to grass. Yes, you do lose out on like the bonus 20 to Oricorio, but to be honest, I think you have other things to deal for Oricorio in this deck. And going back to this Infernape deck real quick, obviously you can just play like Charizard instead of Infernape in like a deck like this. If you are playing Charizard, people usually play 2 Lilies instead, so cut out like one of these support cards, probably like the Cyrus I would cut out. But I just didn't feel like making 2 deck lists, bro, when they're basically the same. Like literally take out the Cyrus, switch these into Charizard, and then add 2 Lilies if you want to play Turtonator's Charizard, which I think low-key is probably the best Charizard version, just because I think it has a way better matchup into Oricorio. But it's just a personal opinion. Next up, I would just include it. I don't think it's the best deck in ranked anymore. I think a lot of decks are kind of just like, I think it's still strong. I just don't see it as much. But Carnivine Crobat Arceus. Yeah, I mean, it's just chilling, man. Something like this is like, I feel like I see the most. I recommend playing the Leaf because, you know, an Arceus starter is very bad. Some people play Ilima instead. But I kind of prefer the Leaf because you have to put energy and then like on Arceus and then you draw into the Leaf. It's kind of nice, and where like Ilima you kind of lose the energy. Well, I mean, Carnivine, dude, with Arceus you mean 50 damage. If you go in the Crobat too, like 80 damage on like turn 2. It's just kind of crazy, bro, if you actually have like the godlike setup. And then obviously Crobat does let Arceus do 160 damage. There is like another build of Arceus that's playing like Darkrai Giratina Arceus with Crobat with no Carnivine, like pure dark energy. And I think that's strong. So let me just like pull up that deck too, because like I'm not the most familiar with that deck, but I know it's definitely like a strong deck. Yeah, so this is like the other form of Arceus that is being played. Then last off we have Oricorio Greninja, which is just solid. Just another Oricorio deck, dude. Water and electric. And you basically just beat all the EX decks. Obviously the worst matchups are like Tapu Greninja if they're playing dual. And then, you know, Rampardos can be annoying if you don't have Giratina. And besides that, I mean, the master. I think this deck actually beats Decidueye. as long as this deck doesn't brick, and the Meowscarada bricks a little bit. So yeah, I hope these deck lists can get you to Masters, get you to top 10,000, top 5,000, top 1,000, depending on what you are chasing. I hope you don't brick, and I think that's it for the video. So thank you guys for watching, and peace out and have a lovely day.